years old. I like to play my trumpet in my spare time. I also like to write. I'm the author of The Adventures of James and Scamper. I've liked making books since before I could write. Since I was 3 years old, I used to draw the pictures and I asked my mom to write the story. I used to tell her what to write next to which pictures. Because my mom could see my passion for writing, when I was old enough, she took me to meet Felicity Keats from Dancing Pencils, who taught me how to unlock my right brain and write original content. I was 8 years old when I wrote and published The Adventures of James and Scamper. Umsinsi Press published my book for me in 2019. Thanks to Felicity's help, I was able to reduce the time it took me to write a book from several months to 1 or 2 days. Since publishing James and Scamper, I've made many other books. During lockdown, I have made a series of 13 books so far. I've not published all my books, but I'm hoping with all this practice that I can start to publish again soon. I am now going to read you the story of James and Scamper. The Adventure of James and Scamper. Once upon a time there was a village in the middle of the jungle, and in that village there was a little 8-year-old boy, and his name was James. James lived in a little cottage with his mom, his dad, his brother, and his dog. James's dog's name was Scamper. Scamper was a fast dog. He was the fastest dog in the village. One day, James and Scamper were jogging through the jungle, and they heard a noise that sounded very close. They hid in a bush to see if they could see it come past. There was a rustle of leaves, and the creature came through the bushes. It turned out it was just a village cat eating some fish from the nearby pond. Ha ha ha, laughed James as the cat continued eating the fish. They went back to the village for lunch. How was your walk, honey? Asked James's mom. Pretty good, answered James, finishing his sandwich. Time for shooting practice, everyone, shouted the chief. Yes, sir, shouted back everyone, and they began practicing. After shooting practice, there was elephant riding. Yippee, I love elephant riding, said a little boy. Glad to hear that, said a riding teacher. First, it was a girl named Lily. Lily was great at riding elephants. Second, it was James's turn. He wasn't great at it, but he did well today, though he ran into a tree and almost a house. So not so well, I guess. That night, they had a bonfire. The next day, everyone woke up and looked out of the window. They saw just water. How'd that happen? Asked James to himself. Then he heard the chief again. Activities closed, he shouted. The village was flooded. James went downstairs and spent the rest of the day in the warm, cozy cottage. At lunchtime, James went to light the fireplace and had some ham sandwiches and steak. At night, he said goodnight and fell asleep. See ya in the next book. The most amazing thing about my book is that it all came true. Me and my family went on a trip to Thailand months after I published my book. The town we stayed in was called Khao Lak. Khao Lak was surrounded by thick jungle where you could go elephant riding. In the year 2000, Khao Lak had been tragically struck by a devastating tsunami which wiped out half the village. Best of all, when my parents and I were walking on the beach, we came across a stray dog. I played with this dog and became attached to it. And as soon as we got back to South Africa, I begged my parents for a dog of my very own. Weeks later, my dad took me to the SPCA and I instantly found the best dog for me. When we got her home, I named her Skittles. She was the best part of my book that came true. Skittles, come girl! Here you go. I donated all the money I got from my books to the SPCA.